I'm so excited to welcome Fillingim. Theresa, are you going by Theresa or Tree for the book?
You know what? On the title of the book, it's Theresa, and then I have tree in parentheses.
Yeah. So Tree is an advanced student at the Polarity Therapy Institute, is currently in our training, and is just about to launch a book, Emotional Boundaries, which is really exciting. I want to talk about that and find out more about the book and share that with our audience here. I'm wondering if you could just give a little background of your professional background and how you found your way into polarity therapy first.
Sure, sure. I'm a licensed counselor in Georgia and Alabama. I've been a counselor for 19 years. And how I came to polarity, gosh, I think I was about 30, and I had received it while I was in a domestic violence shelter. And
Mhm.
so it was life-changing for me. I was experiencing lots of trauma coming out of a domestic violence relationship. And having been in therapy since I was 15, I realized that it was healing a lot of stuff inside of me that I couldn't do just from the neck up. It planted a lifelong seed in me that I needed to come back to it. When I started as a counselor 19 years ago, I was like, I need to do something for self-care. So that's when I hooked up with Eleonora Lipton in Buckhead and started my APP. And it really helped me develop a lot of internal tools to keep my stuff separate from my clients. So
Mm.
I have not been burnt out. I'm still very passionate about counseling and helping others, and even more passionate about integrating polarity with it
Mhm, mhm.
and teaching people to be empowered to help and heal themselves.
Yeah. I want to talk about your book, but I'm also curious just how's it been because you've recently, like last year, enrolled in the advanced training for RPP. Can you just talk about that? How you've been getting back into polarity or where you're hoping to head with it?
Yeah. So last year, it just hit me. I wanted to continue with it. I felt like I was at a point in my life where I needed to just elevate, and just being a counselor wasn't enough. So I wanted to get back to it. I could feel it calling me, like, come back and finish, because I was really doing it more so with the APP for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I really had more visions with wanting to do it with my clients as a professional counselor. And I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I
Hmm.
going to put my counseling clients on a massage table?
Yeah.
And so I just had so many people. Dr. Gordon from Center of Mind Body Medicine, I was doing his trainings, and he was like, just do it.
Hmm.
Just do it. Just follow your vision, follow your heart. And he said, people, you can write up the stuff that you need to write up. Just follow it.
And how has it been for you?
Oh my God, it's been amazing. It's been amazing, especially because of the communication elements of the practice.
Mhm.
Polarity just isn't about touch and body work. The energy with just being present
Mhm.
and being able to communicate and learning about agency and allowing people to just take the time that they need to find when and how and with who they want to do that healing with. So it's beautiful.
That is awesome. Yeah, it's been so great having you in the class. So tell me about the book. When did the idea begin? Or give us a little overview of what the book's about, maybe first.
So the book started 19 years ago, Brian, when I started as a counselor.
Mhm.
I was hired on the spot by a friend of a friend in recovery. And I was like, oh, hell no, I don't want to be a counselor. I said, I've had the worst counselors my whole entire life. And she said, you know what not to do with clients. She said, just try it for 3 days. After 3 days, I was like, geez, I could feel everybody's stuff as if it's my own, if it was under my skin. So I asked all these professionals in the field of counseling, how do I keep my emotions separate? And
Mhm.
nobody could teach me that. So I developed this book, basically,
Okay.
Emotional Boundaries. I've been practicing it ever since. I started introducing it to clients about 10 years ago,
Mhm.
and I've just seen remarkable results. And a lot of it has a lot of polarity principles in it,
Mhm.
because it's about not judging your emotions as being bad or good. It's
Yeah.
about just allowing them and accepting them and working with them so that they're not causing, right? Like Dr. Christina Ross says, how
Mhm.
they can manifest into chronic and acute illness. I just want to have these basic emotional principles in every hand of every teenager and
Mhm.
young adult. The book basically helps people recognize,
Mhm.
tolerate, talk to your feelings like they're little children, okay?
Mhm.
Becoming your own emotional parent,
Mhm.
and then learning to love them. They're
Mhm.
like your emotional GPS system, so they can help you feel healthy.
Oh, that's so sweet. I've touched just hearing that. That's really nice.
Yeah.
And how do you see this? Is there an example of somewhere where you can see a way that maybe Polarity helped with developing this system?
Yeah, it probably started 30 plus years ago when Patricia worked on me when I was in the shelter.
Mhm.
Gosh, it's going to make me feel emotional right now because she allowed me, she held my body with all the pain. I had just come out of a marriage where he tried to kill me 8 times. And I'm an incest survivor, and my body has always held so much wounded trauma.
Mhm.
And when she had earned, right, my trust, I wouldn't let her touch my body for the first 7 sessions, Brian.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
she walked around the perimeter of the table and
Mhm.
she worked on my energy. And she taught me,
Mhm.
this human being taught me for the first time in my life that I could have a boundary,
Mhm.
right? But it felt more emotional than it felt physical initially.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
when she finally did touch me, she held my pain. She
Mhm.
cried with me. You know what I mean? She
Mhm.
was present. So I knew that it was okay for me to have it. I knew that it was okay for me to heal with it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that was the emotions and everything along with it. Yeah, I just, it's such a gift to be able to have that. And I just want to share that with everybody. And so this book is like a great way for me to just do it in a massive way. And hopefully
Yeah,
other people can get tuned into their emotional energy and emotional healing and also learn more about polarity.
very cool. Yeah. And you see this working with your clients or with colleagues maybe who incorporate this into their practices?
Most definitely. It's also allowed me to learn how to, I have a chapter with trauma, but also rescuing your child, right? So I feel like what happens when we're traumatized is that those emotions that we experience during that trauma are frozen in time.
Mhm.
And it's so interesting because a lot of what you teach parallels, it intersects with that.
Mhm.
And so instead of using the word trigger in psychology and counseling, we use that word trigger a lot. I like to use the word wake up. Your
Mhm.
feelings just wake up so that we're not blaming them on somebody or something,
Yeah.
right? Letting those feelings come home. But
Mhm.
sometimes I have to go and sit with those feelings when they wake up. And it
Mhm.
might be me when I was 7 years old, and I can see me and remember me being in that living room. And
Mhm.
the building and the trauma might be like the house burning down. It might feel like that. And I just have to sit with her and cry and hold her and give her permission to feel that way
Mhm.
as if she needs to feel that way until the day that we died. I'm like, I got your back.
Mhm.
I'm not going to leave this building without you. When I give myself that permission to feel it as intensely
Mhm.
and as long as I need to, then that little feeling comes back home with me. But when
Yeah.
I feel it and I re-experience it, it's not at that same level that it once was.
Yeah. Reminds me of soul retrieval, and I know you come from a native background, but I wonder if there's some intersection there at all too of just rescuing those parts that maybe were frozen in time through trauma or whatever events we've survived, where we leave part of ourselves behind or get stuck in some kind of survival strategy that maybe helped to get through that period, but continues to play out in the present even after its usefulness.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I do a lot of ceremony and spiritual practices are huge for me. So I definitely feel like my ancestry has a big part of that healing as well. And that intergenerational trauma, because all of it may not be mine too. So a
Yeah.
lot of that could be trauma that I inherited as well.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I really look forward to reading the book when it's out. Can you give us the details of how to get it or where it will be?
I actually have to prove the final copy
Yeah.
and then it'll go live and then it'll be available on Amazon.
Okay, great. And it's Emotional Boundaries, Theresa Fillingim.
Emotional boundaries, healing your feelings.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk to me. And I'm so excited to check out the book and all the work you're doing. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian.